Hello everyone, John McCracken the Lone Biker here. Have you got a problem that's just like mine? These disc brakes are squealing like a flock of geese are following you around. Well, I'm going to run through some of the causes and some of the easy fixes you can try to stop sounding like you're being chased by angry swans. Now, the first thing to think about is how old are your rotors? No, you're not buying them a birthday present, but like everything else, the rotors will wear out just like the brake pads in your car, just like your old rim brakes. Just because they're made of metal does not mean they're going to wear out. Now, how do you know if they are worn out? Well, first of all, if you read that small print on the side, there will be a minimum thickness that's written on it. And right here, it tells me on my SRAM rotors here that the minimum thickness is 1.55 millimeters. Now, I know what you're thinking, how do you tell that from the naked eye? You can't, and you can't measure it with a ruler either. So this is where a digital caliper comes in handy, because you just open it up like so, clamp it onto the rotor, and the reading here is telling me 1.74. Now don't just do it in the one place. Spin the wheel round and try it in a couple of places. 1.86 I am getting now. 1.85, so it can differ. So even if it's okay on one bit, it might not be okay all round the rotor. So check all round the rotor. Looks like it's not the thickness. These are fairly new. I kind of knew that already, but that's one thing to check first. And if they're below the minimum thickness, it's time for a new set of rotors, sadly. These are a great tool to have, by the way, and you can get them fairly cheaply. Now, if it's not the thickness, these may have become contaminated. Contaminated with what, I hear you say? Well, your bike is out on the road, and I find that it's my winter bike where I get most of the squealing problems, because especially in the winter in UK, in any northern European country or country where you can ride through the winter, the crud and crap from the road is going to come up, it's going to go on your rotors. Also, be very careful when you're cleaning your bike, because the various soaps and detergents and oils and stuff, if they get on your rotors, which you really should try to avoid, but even the slightest bit can contaminate your rotors and your pads. Now, first of all, with the rotor, and I know it might seem counterintuitive because I've just told you about the thickness, this isn't going to take much off, but get a bit of sandpaper. And rub round the braking surface, not just on the inside, but remember, the inside of the rotor, and you can actually see the crap that's come off. So that could have been a problem. So first of all, give your rotors a wee sandpaper, and I mean that, a wee sandpaper. You're only taking off that film that's maybe stuck to it. Next, get your cycle brake cleaner spray. Now, I don't use anything else or the soaps or anything on the cleaner. I just use this. And all you're going to do, spray it on, get it on both sides. Now, it does say you can leave it until it evaporates. Some people, if you don't have this, use like rubbing alcohol, which can evaporate and clean it. So if you've not got a specific cleaner, you could maybe use that. Don't go wild with stuff, because this is your braking surfaces. They're really important. I'm using the Cycle Brake Cleaner from True Tension. Other brands are available. And although it says leave it till it evaporates, I don't use any of the cloths that I use for cleaning the rest of the bike, because they're contaminated with oil and mud and stuff. I get a clean piece of kitchen roll and just give it a good wipe off both sides. And this could be what was making the squeal, because as you'll see, look at the colour of stuff that has come off the disc pad. Now that might just be residue that's coming off your pads onto the rotor, but still you don't want that on your braking surface, and that can be causing the squeak. So there's my advice. Spray, leave on to evaporate if you want, but I prefer to get this, give it a good rub, and you'll find that that cleans up your rotors. Now next we want to check the actual pads. Now I've got Shimano pads here, which can be easy to remove with this pin, and you want to check your pads because whatever's contaminated the rotor is going to be on the pads as well. So we'll give them a check. Now one thing I would say is be careful with the pin that is used for Shimano rotors, because it is easily chewed up. So see if even just it's starting to chew even in the slightest, stop and get your bike shop to do it. Right, we'll just carefully unscrew it. Now I would just say when you're putting it back on, I put a tiny little bit of grease just on the threaded part here when I put it back in, make sure it's going to come back out. I actually bought new titanium bolts, actually off Amazon. They weren't that expensive because I chewed the last one up, and I very luckily was able to get it off. Then take the brake pads out and we'll go and have a look at them. Now first of all, they are marked L and R, so you'll know which side to put them back in again, and remember, don't lose this wee spring which keeps them apart. So the first thing we're looking for is, are they actually worn out? Because if you're down to the metal, that'll definitely be causing it to scream. You can see on here there's plenty of life left in these. I know there's life in these because I didn't buy them that long ago, but you're just checking how close this surface here has got down to the metal. This is the part that's wearing away, it's stuck onto the metal, so you want it to be quite thick, maybe a couple of millimetres, 2 to 3 millimetres. If it's getting low or it's down to the metal, it's time to change. Now you're also looking at the colour, and I can see that it looks like it's got slightly black stuff on it, kind of the same stuff that was coming off onto the kitchen roll when I wiped the rotor. Now I'm going to do the same again, not massively because I don't want to wear away my brake pad, but I'm going to get my sandpaper and I'm just going to rub the surface of the brake. I don't know if it's hard to tell in the light, but it's kind of shiny to start just now, which maybe means there is a wee bit of contamination. And I'm just taking it until that shininess is kind of dulled slightly. I want a rough surface for my braking pad. Again, I'm not doing too much, I'm just taking that fine layer off the top that was obviously creating that noise. So I'm now going to go and put these back on. Okay, so I've got the wee metal pin that separates them. They will fit back in nice and they'll sort themselves. I'll get this, remember the tiny wee bit of grease, which I already have, slip it in. There usually is a little metal pin that goes in the other side as well, which pinged off onto the ground there, so I'll need to go and look for it, but just remember to stick that back on. Screw this in, and you're only going hand tight, you don't want to go too tight. Tight enough that it's not going to fall out. Just check it's not right close together. Bob's your uncle, time to get the wheel back on. Now let's just go for a quick spin and test out that the squeak is gone. Now I would suggest as well, try and test it, not just lightly, I'm just dabbing my brakes just now, but actually give it a good hard brake. Don't go with your handlebars, just to test that it's properly gone. Yes, nice hard brake there, and don't do it just don't do it once, just do it once or twice. Yes, I think our squeak is gone. The geese are no longer following me. Now that was a wee quick guide as to how you can check your brakes, pads and rotors to see what might be causing the squeal. If you're still getting after that, bike shop's always your best bet. And if you don't have some of the tools like the digital caliper that I spoke about, go to the bike shop, they'll be able to check that quickly for you and tell you what rotor you'll need to buy, or they might even have some in stock. And again, watch that bolt, especially if you've got the Shimano brakes, because that bolt can chew up very, very easily. And I would suggest some aftermarket stronger ones. Anyway, I'm the Lone Biker, and remember, if you're going to check your brakes, do it, and then there's 3 more things you need to do. You need to like, subscribe, and get out and ride.